All right, let's get started. The first article is the proliferation of myopia management spectacles by Philip Chang. He's an Australian optometrist, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the article explains how modern spectacle lenses designed for myopia management have rapidly expanded beyond traditional single vision glasses. And Ashley, we're going to start with you because I found this article, it's a bit outdated, but it's a great like moment in the progression of myopia management spectacles because in other parts of the world, they had access to this technology way before we got this Stellest FDA authorization. So, what can you tell us about this article?
Yeah, so I think what's so exciting about this article is that just the title, the proliferation of spectacles. So there's hope there. There's, intrigue about what could potentially be coming to us. So this was written back in May. So we had no idea just a few short months from there that we would have our first FDA approval with the Stellest lens. One thing that I love that Philip said in this particular article is that in his practice, anybody that chooses spectacle lenses will basically automatically go into a myopia control spectacle. And that is what we all aspire for. I think that is such a great model, a great aspiration. So that really touched me when he said that that's the standard of care in his own practice. But he went on to review a couple of the big players. So the Hoya MyoSmart, which is the DIMS lens, so defocus incorporated multiple segment lens. That study, it's a 6-year trial, showed that the myopia was slowed by 62% on average compared to kids who were in a single vision lens. The Essilor Stellest, which is the lens that we currently have available to us, it's the H.A.L.T design, highly aspherical lenslet target design, also slowed axial elongation by about 60% versus the single vision lens. So those two are pretty comparable. And then we have the sight glass lens, which is quite different. It is based on the contrast theory. So just we expect a reduction in axial elongation, not by defocus, but a decrease in contrast to the peripheral retina. Unfortunately, the Cypress study, it got good results, but it was in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they weren't able to get as promising of results as they would have liked, but they are continuing on with their eucalyptus study. I know that because I'm a PI for that study, but soon we'll have great data for that lens as well. I really love that he then went on to talk about a little bit of a personal experience at the Shanghai International Optical Fair, where he saw dozens of different designs that were pretty impressive. Some of them touted really high efficacy, but in the big scheme of things, there wasn't a whole lot of research behind some of these designs. But it's exciting to know that companies are excited about controlling myopia. There are a lot more on the horizon, and that we have a lot to look forward to here in the US.
Right. And it kind of represents that shift of, the standard of care for myopia management. I thought it was interesting in the article when he meant the mention of that practitioners must critically evaluate lens evidence when prescribing myopia management spectacles. Can you go more into that?
So can you say that one more time? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So the part about practitioners must critically evaluate lens evidence when prescribing myopia management spectacles, as not all marketed lenses deliver clinically proven outcomes. So, are we looking at a future where we're going to have this deviation between, I guess, more efficacious myopia management or effect from
Right.
spectacles?
Gotcha. So what we can for sure say is the ones that are being looked at in the US. So the MyoSmart, the Stellest, the Sight Glass lens, those are all going to have comparable pieces of data backing them. So what he is referring to is that there's all of these new vendors, these new manufacturers, especially in China and other countries, that are touting that same sort of evidence and same sort of defocus, but there is no clinical backing. There's no trials behind them. So not all lenses are created equally. Like these lenses that we know about are very well thought out, very well structured, well backed, and anybody can say that there's defocus in these lenses. So we have to do our due diligence and make sure we're prescribing things that are evidence based and not just kind of running on the coattails of other things.
Right. Yeah. And speaking about like our next article, which was written by you, Ashley, the title is Now What Turning Essilor Stellest Approval into Action. Let's use that as a transition. Recently, at the time we're recording this, we did have the Stellest FDA authorization in the United States. So can you go more into your article after the other one? Yeah.
Yeah, so I was so pumped. I don't. Kevin and I, we're with RMM. We have a lot of information coming towards us, and this really caught me by surprise. Kevin, I don't know about you, but I was shocked that this came to the market what seemed like overnight, and it was just really exciting. There was a lot of question on how this was going to be implemented into to everyday practice. So my challenge in this editorial perspective was just to not just be excited, but to actually put this call of action into action. This is a great entry point into myopia management. A lot of us are intimidated by orthokeratology, by maybe even a pharmaceutical therapy, but none of us should be intimidated by prescribing spectacles. So my messaging in this article, and Kevin likes this quote, so I'll just read it. The science brought Stellest to the market. Our implementation will define its success. And that's true. That's my own quote, but it really resonates with me to this day because lots of doctors are still not really knowing exactly where to place these lenses, but we just got to get started. We have to just prescribe this as standard of care and take on what Philip, kind of encouraged us to do. If we're going to prescribe glasses, they really should be myopia control spectacles and not single vision.
Yeah. Kevin, what is your take on the Stellest FDA authorization?
Yeah, so definitely I echo with Ashley's perspective, and to piggyback on this, my personal take on this is that a lot of clinicians are still not just to be hesitant, but also take Stellus or just the realm of myopia control spectacle as the entity or merchandise. And sometimes it could be a misnomer to take this as a merchandise because, as Philip have written in the previous article, saying that we all need to treat each individual's type of design, specifically, because every individual type of design can actually interact or add on a different type of optical defocus signal that will actually kind of shape how the axial link is going to respond over time. So the take-home message from this, in my perspective, is do not simply just take it as a merchandise and assume, this Stellest glass would work for every individual. And in fact, you do need to take a precaution, and sometimes you need to take a step back in order to evaluate whether this is truly the good fit. Just because it's available doesn't necessarily mean like it will be efficacious for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a weird double-edged sword with the myopia spectacles. Ashley, to your point, this is like an entry level option for anyone who wants to start doing myopia management, and that's a huge benefit. But then there's all of these other factors that come along with it, right? Like, are the kids wearing the lenses for the requisite amount of time? They basically have to wear them all day. And then there's also like, are they positioned correctly on their face? There like compliance is a huge factor in all of this. So I really love the piece, and I think it's really like this great moment in time that we can kind of record and capture right now as more and more of these lens technologies come out in the United States. If you're interested in getting the rest of the episode, consider becoming a paid supporter of the Myopia Mindset. In addition to an extended version of this episode and every other episode that we do, you'll also get access to exclusive monthly bonus episodes of the Myopia Mindset. And I know you're interested. You've made it this far. You can do so on our Substack, myopiamindset.substack.com. I'll see you at the next one.